At some point, and I couldn't tell you exactly when, I stopped being the audience of my own life and started being the performer. Have you ever felt that? Have you ever been homesick for a version of yourself that you can't quite remember anymore? I want to talk about it because it took me a long time to even notice it was happening. Over time, I became more fluent in other people's versions of me than in my own. I think it started innocently enough. You adjust yourself for a room, you soften an edge for someone you love, you learn which parts of yourself make people comfortable, and you show up as that. And you file the other parts somewhere else. And you do it again for different people in different ways until one day you realize that you've been narrating your own life from the outside, watching yourself exist for the other instead of existing for the inner. The world today is very good at teaching us to do this, to perform. There are mirrors everywhere now, not just in our bathrooms, but online, in the algorithms that seem to read our minds better than we can, in the way strangers decide who you are before you've even opened your mouth. Mirrors everywhere, reflections of reflections. And somewhere underneath all of that is the actual you fading into the background, without even realizing the sound has been muted. There's something deeply disorienting about this for me. I can't be fully present in my own life while simultaneously curating it for an audience. I have to choose. And I think a lot of us, without realizing it, have been choosing the audience. And without meaning to, I have become a person assembled from other people's reactions to a self that I'm still trying to understand. Someone admires something in you, and suddenly that part of you gets louder. Someone pulls away, and you start editing yourself, reshaping and adjusting, trying to become someone they might want to stay for. And we do it so naturally that we barely feel it happening. We collect these moments like data that we never asked to gather, and somewhere along the way they start to write us, to write the story of our lives. I've been calling this the grief of socialness, the grief of losing contact with our interior world in an effort to exist within the world of our choosing. Because even if people love the version of you that they're receiving, part of you knows that they are not quite touching the real thing underneath. And sometimes after years of adaptation, neither are you. I think this is why solitude can feel so enormous sometimes. Not because being alone is necessarily painful, but because when the external noise quiets down, you finally begin to hear yourself again. And sometimes what you hear is someone you haven't spoken to in a very long time. And you might not like what they have to say. Reconnecting with you can feel like massaging a muscle you forgot was injured. It aches in a deliciously painful way. It begs you to release, to let go. It begs for the blood to flow into a place that is long gone numb. I spent years becoming fluent in external awareness. And the painful irony is that the more I searched for safety in other people's perceptions, the less safe I actually felt. Because there is no amount of external validation that can do what internal belonging does. If I am not a safe place within myself, it doesn't matter where I am not okay. When I think about this, I can't help but think about nature, about how a tree doesn't negotiate its own existence. It doesn't wonder if it's growing in the right direction or whether the other trees approve of it. Same with the sun. It rises every morning without asking permission, and we forget that. Life wants to express itself, and it does, and it's the most magical thing. And yet sometimes we get caught up in perception and performance and who is receiving us on the other side that we miss it. We miss the point. I think we misunderstand each other so often because we are first misunderstanding ourselves. I don't think the answer is to withdraw, to become unreachable, to stop loving people or being changed by them. I think the answer is to become more rooted in ourselves, to learn how to become like the sun, to rise as yourself every day, regardless of what happened the night before, to be perceived correctly sometimes and incorrectly other times, and to be okay with both. This is the work I am in right now, and I won't pretend it's finished, but the more I release the versions of myself that I was taught to perform, the more I keep finding someone underneath them. A person who feels really familiar. Like meeting someone who just gets it, Gets me. Like the version of me that existed before the world convinced me that I needed to be somebody. I'm really enjoying meeting myself again. I'm reminded of who I was before it all got so serious. Just like the sun and the night before it. Impossible to fully know. And that's enough. I want to keep growing the way vines grow. Persistently. Beautifully unbothered by the stone and the bugs and the builders trying to reorganize them. That is the work of my life. Not becoming someone finally worth loving, but remembering that I am. I just am. I am learning how to remain whole while living among mirrors. And if any of this resonated with you, I want you to know that I see you, the one underneath all of the socialness, the one you tucked away for safekeeping, the one that's still in there no matter how hard you tried to bury them, consciously or unconsciously. I think they're waiting very patiently to meet with you again. So I want you to give them a hug from me, okay? And tell them that it's safe to come out now. The monsters are gone, and it's just us now. Okay. Talk soon, all right? Peace.